So I work in business intelligence. What does that mean? That means that I write queries against a database. I take those queries, I visualize their results, and then I use those results to answer questions about a business's performance. Now, all of that is something that AI is supposedly super great at, particularly when we're talking about some of these reasoning models. You see, my whole job is essentially to answer questions about data. And maybe that got me a little worried. So I decided to go through and give the top AI models that you can get right now an interview, just like I would give an analyst that was looking to join my team. I asked them 10 basic questions about Microsoft Power BI, which is a data visualization tool that I use all the time. Now, I want to acknowledge that I'm asking the models questions about how to use a tool rather than data. But these are questions that I would ask someone in an interview. In order for an AI model to be able to replace someone doing my job, they would need to at least be able to handle questions kind of like this and give accurate responses. And Power BI, the tool that I am asking the AI's questions about, is broadly documented. In order to successfully ask an AI model questions about business concepts, right, you would need to fine tune that model. And I don't have the compute power to do tuning on my own personal laptop. So with that said, let's take a look at the 10 questions about Power BI that I asked these models to respond to. So to start off, here are the 10 questions that I asked. I asked, what is SSRS and how is it different than Power BI? What are paginated reports? What are measures in Power BI and how can we create them? What is the Power BI gateway? What is bidirectional cross-filtering in Power BI? What is DAX in Power BI? What is Power Query and what language is used within Power Query? Which table functions will you use to group data in Power BI? Tell us about query folding in Power Query and why should we use SQL in the Power Query editor? I then interacted with these models in two different ways. First, on the web browser, like many of you might have interacted with a large language model before. But second, by running two of them on my laptop locally. I ran DeepSeek R1's 7 billion parameter model, as well as Qwen 2.5's 32 billion parameter model. And here's how they did. So first I used Mistral in the web browser, and it was able to answer all of the questions correctly, except for the question around what are paginated reports. It talked about the concept of a paginated report, but didn't make the connection that I was asking questions about Power BI. And so I wanted it to mention Power BI's tool for building paginated reports, which is essentially Paginated Report Builder. Meta's AI failed one more question. So it did the same thing where it talked about the concept of a paginated report, but didn't make the connection either to SSRS, which is the tool I asked about before, or paginated reports. It also said that a measure in Power BI was the same as a calculated field, which it's not. DeepSeek R1 in the web browser was successfully able to answer all of the questions. It even connected that paginated reports could be built with both SSRS and Power BI and successfully brought up Paginated Report Builder, which then got me wondering, okay, well, how does the smaller DeepSeek R1 7 billion parameter model handle these questions when I ask it locally on my laptop? And it didn't do quite as well, right? So it only successfully answered 4 questions, right? And also got kind of confused. Copilot, Microsoft's tool, successfully answered all the questions except for the one on paginated reports. However, it did make the connection between SSRS being able to create paginated reports. It just didn't make the connection that Power BI could also create them. Same with ChatGPT 4.0 Turbo. It did about the same as Copilot, which makes sense because Copilot, I believe, is partially based on one of ChatGPT's models. Gemini, Google's model, essentially successfully answered all of the questions. It said that paginated reports could be built in Power BI, but it didn't mention the report builder tool. And then the one thing that tripped it up, which is kind of unusual, is that it started talking about visuals table functions and not DAX table functions. And then interestingly, Quinn's 32 billion parameter model, which I was running locally very slowly, but is from Alibaba, was able to successfully answer all of my questions. So what does this mean for my job? Am I going to lose it and be replaced by AI? Well, frankly, honestly, it left me kind of optimistic about the business intelligence job market. Not because I don't think AI will eventually be able to answer questions, but because it made me realize how much tuning these models need in order to successfully answer questions. And that's kind of where I see a job like mine evolving into. Instead of being the ones to actually go out and answer a business leader's questions ourselves, we'll be the ones teaching the models how to do it. And business context is constantly evolving. So fine tuning a model is not just like a one time thing. You need to constantly teach it and train it new information. With that, if you found this video interesting, please consider subscribing. I make a lot of videos on Power BI and SQL. This video is a little abnormal for me, but if you're interested in data and how people work with data in a professional corporate environment, I'd love to have you join me. Thanks for watching.